Today's video is sponsored by Wise Travel Money. Use the link below in the description to sign up to Wise and claim your free Wise Travel Money card. We'd been wanting to travel to Japan for years. It was probably the #1 place on our bucket list, but we didn't go to Japan for one simple reason. We thought it was too expensive. Flights, hotels, food, transport, we just assumed it would blow our budget. But after spending 2 weeks traveling across Japan, we realized something really surprising. Japan is actually way more affordable than people think. And in this video, we're going to show you exactly how to travel Japan on a budget. And at the end, we'll break down exactly what we spent over 14 days traveling Japan. Japan has this reputation of being one of the most expensive countries in the world, and there is a reason for that. There are expensive areas to visit in Japan and some of the nicest restaurants and shopping, so you can spend a ton of money in Japan if you want to. But the reality is, it really depends on how you travel. And just like anywhere, if you do it the right way, it can actually be way cheaper than a lot of other places, especially in Asia. Let's start with food, for instance, because this is where Japan probably surprised us the most. You don't really need to spend $20 to $30 a meal here. In all honesty, some of the best food we had in Japan was also the cheapest. We found that visiting ramen shops, curry houses, and like these local diners that are pretty much everywhere, you can eat extremely well for about $5 per person. And a beer or a drink, maybe $2. For all of our meals, plus a couple of beers, it came to 21,000 yen, which is like less than 20 bucks Australian. And then there's the convenience stores in Japan, which are honestly on another level. You can get fresh made meals, snacks and drinks, all for just a few bucks. And we did this extremely regularly. So if you're on a really tight budget and you really want to push it, you can just eat at convenience stores for every meal. We actually made an entire video of us only eating at convenience stores for 24 hours in Japan, and it was actually one of the most fun videos we've ever made.
Wow, does it taste good? It's just so whipped, the egg, and yeah, huge fan.
And it's 275 yen, which is like less than $2, I think. I haven't really eaten it since we've been here. I'm gonna have a taste.
It's almost like cheesy, almost like it tastes like has like a cheesy taste to it. It's unbelievable. Oh.
And then there's vending machines. Coffee, beer, soft drinks, like they all are available in vending machines and they're everywhere. And most of the drinks are between $1 to $2. So if you wake up in the morning and you're in a pinch and you just want to grab a quick coffee, you don't want to go to a cafe and wait in line or whatever, go to one of these vending machines, spend $1 or $2, and believe it or not, you're going to get a really good hot coffee straight out of a vending machine. Even basic groceries in Japan are surprisingly affordable compared to the United States. So a loaf of bread is around 150 to 300 yen. Milk is about 200 to 300 yen. And a dozen eggs, usually about 250 to 400 yen, which is actually way cheaper than what we're used to paying back home. But here's the thing. In a lot of other countries, if you're traveling, eating out is probably one of the biggest expenses you're going to have. But in Japan, it's kind of reversed. Honestly, eating out in Japan can be a lot cheaper than cooking. So for that reason, we would say, don't even worry about buying groceries if you're here on a trip. You can just find cheap places to eat wherever you go. This is where Google and ChatGPT are going to become your best friend. If you roll into a part of town and you want to find a reasonably priced place to eat, look it up on Google, have a look at the menu. You're going to find that there's tons of cheap options as well as fine dining options. And another thing that people seem to get a little bit wrong about Japan is the cost of experiences. So some of the best things to do in Japan are either cheap or even completely free. So we went to a couple of different temples and shrines and they were both free. There's these cable cars that you can go up and down in Mount Fuji and get an amazing view for just under $10. We're not going to do the cable car because it's Sunday morning and we just pulled up to the parking lot and there's about maybe 60 people lined up for it and it looks like there's 2 cable cars running. I don't think we want to line up half the morning for it.
Yeah, it is something that you can do though, and the view looks incredible. There also looks like there's a viewpoint up the top, so that's just something to consider if you want to get like a good view, unique view of Mount Fuji.
And surprisingly, it's only 1,000 yen per adult. Kids ride for free, so that's like $6 or $7 US to ride it, which is really cheap for the view you get. We even went in this underground ice cave, and it was $3 per person. And yeah, a lot of the sightseeing and stuff you can do in Japan, like going on hikes and stuff like that, it's completely free. We also went and visited the snow monkeys, and that was 800 yen per person. And we spent the whole morning there walking around, taking a look at the monkeys, and then we even got a meal after it, which was, again, very reasonably priced. Even some of the bigger attractions in Japan are way more affordable than you'd expect. So we were actually taking a look at Tokyo Disneyland as a potential experience for us to enjoy as a family. And a one-day ticket to Tokyo Disneyland is around 8,000 to 10,000 yen. Now, if you compare that to places like in the US, where you can go to Disneyland, it's half the price, literally. Tokyo Disneyland is actually one of the cheapest Disney parks in the world. So that's just one example there. One thing that really helped us keep costs down in Japan was how we managed our money while we were there. And we've been using Wise for a while now when we travel, and honestly, it just makes things way easier and way cheaper. So one of the things that people don't know about Japan is it's one of the few places where cash only is still very normal in a lot of smaller restaurants and shops. And ATMs are actually where a lot of people get hit with sneaky fees. So not just the ATM fee, but the hidden exchange rate your bank adds on top. And that's honestly one of the main reasons we switched to Wise a while ago. Wise uses the real mid-market exchange rate, which is the same rate that you see on Google. And they show every fee up front in the app before you withdraw, so there's no surprises. One good thing about Japan was that we noticed that the ATMs were actually charging a very low ATM fee. It was like $1 to $2 for every withdrawal. And because Wise offers a certain amount of free withdrawals per month, we weren't really paying anything to take money out using Japanese ATMs. Also, there's that thing the ATM does when it tries to convert the money for you. That's called dynamic currency conversion. You have to just decline that and let Wise handle the exchange instead. You'll actually end up saving quite a bit of money that way. Plus, the other good thing is you can hold multiple currencies in the app. So if you have, for instance, US dollars and you're traveling to Japan, you don't need to go to one of those shops and convert all of your cash into Japanese yen. You can do it as you go. So if you've got like a daily or even a weekly budget, just transfer enough for the day or for the week, and then you can actually even keep track of how much you're spending per day, even better. And of course, there's the security. So if anything happens to your card, if you can't find it, or if you leave it behind somewhere, you can use the app, open it up, and you can freeze it. And then once you've found your card and you figured it out, you can unfreeze it instantly. They're not going to ask you to call them or anything and speak to customer service. You can literally do this with one click of a button. I've done it a ton of times. And honestly, it just takes a lot of the stress out of managing money while you travel. And just quickly, so if you are traveling to Japan in the near future, we've linked Wise down below in the description. So you can get your first transfer fee free up to $1,000. That's 1,000 Australian dollars. Or grab a free travel card if you use our link. It's super easy to set up and honestly one of the simplest ways to avoid losing money on exchange rates while you travel. And then there's transport. So transport is generally one of the biggest things that scares people about Japan, but honestly, it's way simpler and way cheaper than it looks. And here's the trick, you don't actually need to stay in places like Shinjuku or Shibuya. And that's because just 10 to 20 minutes outside the city center, the prices drop dramatically. I'm talking like in half. You could stay in places like Nakano, Koenji, or Asagaya and still get into Shinjuku for about 5 to 15 minutes. If you're visiting a major city like Tokyo, I'd strongly suggest having a good look around at places that are just outside of the main tourist spots in Tokyo, and you're going to get way cheaper prices, especially if you're going on Airbnb, and you don't need to worry about the transport because getting around is super easy and super affordable, especially in places like Tokyo. So most local train rides, they only cost about 150 to 300 yen per trip, which is a couple of dollars. So even if you were catching the train every single day while you're on a trip to Japan, it barely adds up. Like, you're probably going to spend less than $100 for your entire trip. And in contrast to that, taxis in Japan are pretty expensive. So trains are definitely the most efficient way to go. And that's almost all you need to use in Japan. Like, trains run basically everywhere. In fact, if you take a look at the grid map of the train system in Japan, it's absolutely insane if you compare it to other countries in the world. The train goes everywhere. In most other cities in the world, if you were to stay just outside the city, it would become super inconvenient. Like, you would need your own vehicle. But in places like Tokyo and Osaka, it's actually one of the smartest ways to save money, and it's not inconvenient at all. Now, this is where Japan can get expensive, accommodation, especially in places like Tokyo. But like I mentioned earlier, there are definitely ways around that, and staying just outside the main areas is one of the easiest ways to save money. But for us, we actually did something completely different. So we hired an RV, and this completely changed the way we traveled Japan. Our RV cost us around 23,000 yen per day, but that included both transport and accommodation. So we're kind of killing two birds with one stone here. And the craziest part is Japan has free rest stops all over the country. So a lot of the nights we're in Japan on our road trip, we didn't pay anything for accommodation. We just slept at one of these free roadside stations, which is called a Michi no Eki. And it has bathrooms, it has a restaurant and cafes, it has vending machines with all the drinks you need. And it's totally safe and totally normal to spend the night there. But there are some rules, like you don't make any noise, you don't set up camp, you don't leave any rubbish behind, and you don't stay more than one night. You simply have a rest and then you move on. That's exactly what it's designed for. And one of the great things about it is people seem to follow these rules, and it keeps everything under control. And if you just follow the rules, you're not going to get in any trouble, and you're not going to see anything dodgy or sketchy. You're going to have heaps of fun. And for us, it gave us freedom and flexibility, and honestly, saved us a ton of money. Now, obviously, there are different options for camper vans. We opted for the larger DX camper, which is basically like a big RV, although it's a miniature version, like a Japanese version. So it still fits in tight little roads, but it's big enough to sleep like 4 adults or 2 adults and 2 kids. Honestly, you could probably squeeze 6 adults in there if you really wanted to. But if you're just traveling as a couple and you don't have kids or anything like that, you could easily get a cheaper option, like one of the standard campers or even just an economy camper. But yeah, it really depends on what type of travel you're wanting to do. If you're wanting to travel around the cities, obviously a camper van isn't for you. You don't want to be driving a camper van around cities and looking for somewhere to park overnight. If you do want to see some of the more rural side to Japan, if you want to be going across country and doing long drives and stuff like that, then yeah, we would suggest getting a camper van. Okay, so as I said at the start of the video, we're going to give you a complete breakdown of what we spent over 14 days traveling across Japan. So what did it actually cost? Over 14 days traveling across Japan, this is what we spent. Our camper van cost about 322,000 yen in total. Our fuel was about 32,000 yen, so we filled up 4 times and it was about 80,000 yen each fill up. Fuel is actually still reasonably cheap in Japan despite the fuel crisis. Okay, I just put fuel in the RV for the first time. I put just over 50 litres in and it was 8,000 yen. So it's about $50 US. Pretty good, and it's almost full. It's probably a 60 litre tank, so probably looking at $60 to fill it up. And we've driven almost 400 kilometers. Not bad.
We're super impressed with this RV. Like, we've done van life and RV life many times in our years together. This is like, has everything you need and like nothing more, nothing less. It's super fuel efficient and like not difficult to park, or yeah, we've just had a really pleasant experience so far.
We spent about 11,000 yen total on toll roads, and that's traveling almost 1,000 kilometers. And we did stay at an RV park for 4 nights in total for our trip, and that was 4,000 yen per night, and that included a shower and a washing machine and electricity. So in total we spent 16,000 yen on accommodation in RV parks. This was the big one. Our food and drinks averaged around 6,000 to 8,000 yen per day for all 3 of us. Now, that's an average, so obviously some days we spent over 10,000 yen, and some days we spent maybe only 4,000 or 5,000 yen. It really just depended on what we were doing that day. There are a lot of days where we were driving a lot and staying at Michinoeki, so we only ate at convenience stores. And then there was a couple of days where we wanted to go somewhere a bit nicer for lunch or for dinner, and we maybe splurged a little bit, maybe had a couple of drinks with dinner and spent a little bit more. But honestly, averaging it out, 6,000 to 8,000 yen per day, that's like 40 bucks. All the activities we did, including snowboarding, the snow monkeys, and Mount Fuji, were about 20,000 yen in total. Not bad. And then we spent 12,000 yen in total on trains, which was basically just to get to and from the airport to pick up our RV. As I mentioned earlier, if you were getting the train every day, you really wouldn't be spending much. So, in total, we spent between 490,000 yen and 590,000 yen for our entire 14-day trip to Japan. And that's for multiple people. That's 2 adults and a child traveling in a camper van, including snowboarding and paid activities. We could have done this trip even cheaper. If you were traveling solo or as a couple, you'd probably expect to spend a little bit less than that. So if Japan has been on your list, but you've been putting it off because of the cost, hopefully this shows you that it's actually way more accessible than you think. You just have to know how to do it right. And honestly, it ended up being one of our favorite trips we've ever done.